Hey hoes, and welcome back to another episode of Morning Cup of H.O.E podcast. I'm Imani, your host and main hoe, here to help you on this journey of finding your purpose, getting your shit together, and living the life you want. Pour up your morning cup of whatever you're sipping on, get ready to unleash your inner hoe, and let's get into this episode. All right, hoes. So welcome to season 2 of Morning Cup of H.O.E podcast. I am so excited to have gotten to this point where we have season 2. So I want to just start off by stating the obvious. At the end of season 1, I told y'all that I was going to go on like a 2-week break. I said that was going to be enough for me to really do what I needed to do and come back refreshed and everything for season 2. Obviously, that did not happen. Obviously, it's a little bit over a month at this point, and I'm just putting out this episode. But I just kind of want to let y'all know, like, why it took so long and everything like that. But first, before we get into it, how are y'all hoes doing? Like I said, it's been over a month. So at this point, like, you know, we gotta get familiar with each other again. Like, check in. I want to know how y'all are doing. How are you really feeling today? How has your past month been? Like, are there any updates in your life? Like, you know, did you start a new job? You got a new man? Like, you know, you start loving yourself more. Like, what is going on, hoes? Because I really want to know. I want to keep in touch with y'all and up to date with y'all lives, because obviously through this podcast I'm going to keep y'all updated with my life, tell y'all what's going on, the good, the bad, the ugly, all that kind of stuff. So I definitely want to be, you know, this to be a place where y'all feel like y'all can do the same and really update me about what's going on. So let's take a little second here. Tell me all about your day. All right, so I just want to go obviously and start off with what took me so long to come back. And I'm not even going to try to sugarcoat it and be like, oh, I was hustling and this and that, like, and that's what took me so long. Like, to be honest, I am 100% a procrastinator and I get overwhelmed so easily. And I kind of feel like I've told y'all this multiple times throughout the podcast, and it shows up in my life so many times. So one of the reasons that I took the break from the podcast and decided that I was going to do a season 2, like I told y'all previously, is for a few reasons. Like, for one, I wanted to make sure that I had episodes piled up so that I wasn't stressing each week trying to record and edit. Also, I wanted to have more guests on the show, and I wanted to get my social media up and all these great things that I really had 100% intentions of doing. But once it got time to do it, it was just like, it felt so overwhelming, and I kept kind of procrastinating. And it's like to the point where I'm like, okay, girl, eventually you have to put out a new episode. Like, you can't let this fall flat. So I will tell y'all, like, the first probably 2 weeks after I stopped the season 1, it was terrible. Like, I didn't do anything. Like, I promise you, I didn't look at anything to do with the podcast, not one day. So then it got to a point when I was like, okay, I'm gonna do a little social media stuff. So when I come back, I have like stuff that I can post. But that got so difficult because I don't know if y'all know, but I'm not really a big social media person. Like, I'm the type of person that will scroll on social media all day. But when it comes to like posting or interacting with people or anything like that, like, I don't do that. So now where I'm in the position where I really have to post about like the podcast and, you know, really be engaged on social media, it feels so different to me, and I'm just not used to doing that. So it was like, once I started trying to make posts, I didn't know what to do. Like, I felt so overwhelmed because I'm like, does this look good? And like, are people going to want to see this? Like, what do I talk about every day and this and that? And it was so stressful, like, trying to go through that. And obviously, like, I went to my husband, like, hey, like, can you look at this? Like, can you look at that? And he's looking at me like I'm crazy, because for him, like, that kind of stuff just comes naturally. So he's like, why are you overthinking it? Like, it's not really that hard. And for me, it was that hard. So it got to the point when I just kind of like got overwhelmed and was like, forget it, I'm not gonna do it. And I did like go back to it a few times, like, and make a few posts. But to be honest, social media is still gonna be one of those things that I am kind of doing day by day, trying to like push it out. And I wanted to be transparent about that, because I know a lot of times, like, people will come in front of people, set all these goals, and people only see the outcome of the stuff, but a lot of times they don't really see what you go through to get to that point. And I feel like a lot of times people paint this like great picture, like everything is so great, like, especially like in their business or like their social media presence. Like, I feel like people really paint a picture like everything is smooth sailing. And I think it's so important to talk about our failures and what we struggle with, because we're all human. We're not going to be 100% the best every single day. So it's so important to talk about that, so that when other people are going through situations like that, they don't feel like, dang, other people aren't struggling, like everybody's just doing this and making it easy. Then I feel like that's where people have that perception that other people are perfect, and it really weighs down on you when you're trying to live up to these expectations, which in reality are unrealistic, because there's no way for you to get up to them, because these people are not perfect. They're just not showing you both sides of the story. So that's why I think it's so important for me to do that and be transparent with y'all, because this is real life. Like, this is how it goes. So have y'all been in those situations where you may set goals for yourself, and then when it's time to actually execute those goals, maybe you feel overwhelmed, or you don't have a game plan of where you want to start, or whatever the case, it's just something that gets in the way for some reason, and you can't accomplish that goal or can't accomplish it in a timely manner. Like, have y'all been in those situations when you feel that way? Because I feel like a lot of people have. I feel like most of us have been in those situations, and we may not talk about it because we may be embarrassed. But whatever the case may be, I want you to know that in those situations, you're not alone, because I feel like most people go through that. So I kind of wanted to set that expectation for like the social media. I will say, as far as guests, I am really excited because I have recorded a few guest episodes, and they are some amazing guests. So as those roll out, obviously y'all are going to hear more about it. But one of the biggest things that I said that I wanted to do this season in Morning Cup of H.O.E. podcast is really to have more guests on the show. And the reason I wanted to do that is because, for one, I want y'all to be able to hear different perspectives. Obviously, like, y'all are coming here, y'all wanted to listen to me, like, y'all are entertained by me. But I think it's also important to incorporate knowledge and education versus just some stuff that's my opinion. Because even though I can come to y'all and I can talk about like imposter syndrome and things like that, I'm really talking about my personal experience and like some research that I may have done like on Google or something. But people that I want to bring in may be people who actually is a therapist that talks about that, or they work with people specifically dealing with imposter syndrome and things like that, and they can kind of give you more of a holistic view of it, versus for me, I'm just talking directly from my experience, and that experience for me may be completely different for you. So I don't ever want to make it seem like, you know, if I'm talking about a topic, there's only one side of it, and if you don't fall within that, like you can't identify with that. I never want that to be the case. So I think it's so important for me to be able to bring in different perspectives, so that y'all can see that and y'all can understand it, and maybe the person that I bring in, you'll actually be able to relate to them on a different level than you can relate to me. So I think that's so important. And then another reason that I wanted to bring in guests as well is because I also want this like Morning Cup of H.O.E. podcast to be a platform specifically for Black women, because I feel like we don't have the opportunity a lot of times to have our voice heard. We don't have platforms where people are just listening to Black women. So if I can make a platform where Black women can be heard and be able to voice their opinions or be able to have fun, I want this to be a place where we can do that. And I'm going to continue to do that as this podcast grows. So that's really why I wanted to do that. So as I start to roll out guest episodes, I'm really excited for that. And I'm hoping that at least half of the season is of guest episodes. So I'm really excited for that. And I'm looking for y'all feedback for that. Like, of course, like how y'all feel about the guests. Are there any other guests that y'all want to hear? Any different topics that you want to hear about? Like, whatever it is. Once again, this is a platform where I want y'all to feel like this is your podcast as well. Like, we are going to work together. We're going to grow together. We're going to learn together, because even though I'm the one up here talking, like, I'm not perfect. I don't know it all. So as I'm doing this podcast, just like y'all are learning, I'm learning too. And I'm hoping that I'm making a difference for somebody. And I feel like I'm just giving y'all all the updates, like coming into the season and kind of setting the expectations. And then next week we'll actually start and kind of jump into a specific topic and talking and things like that. So I feel like this is just a bunch of random talking right now, but I do want to say I appreciate y'all for coming back to season 2 of Morning Cup of H.O.E. podcast. I want this season to be very organized compared to last season. I think one of my biggest regrets, and I won't even say regrets because I don't think it's necessary to really regret things, but I think one of the biggest learning experiences that I gained from last season is just don't put out anything that I'm not proud of, making sure that my audio is good, my guest audio is good, my topic is good. Like if it's something that I do, even though it may take time out of my day to do it and edit it or whatever, if the final product isn't something that I'm proud of, I shouldn't put it out no matter what. And I think I'm gonna really live by that for this season and live by that in life. I have to be proud of what I'm putting out and proud to have that behind me. So that is what y'all can expect this season. More guests, better quality, more just learning about my life. And I hope that y'all come along on this journey, and I hope y'all are enjoying Morning Cup of H.O.E podcast. So once again, hoes, welcome back to season 2 of Morning Cup of H.O.E podcast. I hope y'all are excited for all the new topics and the amazing guests that we'll have this season. Next week, we'll talk all about getting out of your comfort zone and what that looks like. But in the meantime, make sure y'all are following us on all of our platforms, including Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Morning Cup of H.O.E. And I'll see y'all hoes next week. Peace.